you so much. I'm excited to be here. I've got to clean up some business on the podium here. David, don't leave. David, excuse me? Is that David? Oh, he's leaving. Well, I wanted to clean some stuff up. I'm sitting on the podium here, and he's excited about the fact that he was on the podium with Archie Manning. I mean, no mention of me. I played with Archie. I'm sitting right here. You think, I know he's a young kid. He probably doesn't remember. He wasn't even born. You'd think he would have made mention of that. Frank, it's so good to see you, and congratulations on your great career here. Kenny, thanks again for the invitation. Got to meet Chuck. Looking forward to a great matchup here at the Bayou Classic. I wish that I could come here and talk about high school football. I am going to talk about the Saints, and obviously we have some other issues out there that I'll take questions on if anybody wants to. But Mandeville, right, is in the quarterfinals, and no one said anything about Mandeville. Everyone was talking about St. Paul's, right, the #1 team in the country, in the state, and they get knocked off, which is what's so great about high school football, so great about college football. You never know from one week to the next. But Mandeville wins in double overtime last week, and they're in the semifinals, so quarterfinals. So you see how much I'm keeping up with Mandeville. Thanks, Kenny. But that's what's so great about high school and college football. The Saints, I have to preface anything I say about the Saints. I played from 77 to 83. We won all of about 6 games in that 7-year period, I think. I know we won 1 in the 1-15 season in 1981, so I remember that one for sure, up in the Jets in New York. But I have to tell you, when the Saints won the Super Bowl, that was it for me. It was vindication to put on a Saints. Anybody that ever put a Saints uniform on was vindicated. Anyone that put blood and sweat on that Superdome field was vindicated. So I really don't care if they win another game. I really don't, sincerely. I have enjoyed watching the Saints more since they've won the Super Bowl. Not as much because they won a Super Bowl. It's just, there's no pressure there anymore for us. You know, we broke the ice. We got our Super Bowl victory. And I couldn't help but remember being in the stands the year after they won the Super Bowl, which would have been last year, I guess, in 10. I'm sitting in the stands and they're losing to, I forget who they were losing to. And someone in front of me was bad-mouthing them, giving them a hard time, cursing at these guys. You're bums, we just won the Super Bowl last year, the year before. What do you want from these guys? And I hear now the commentary on the Saints and the criticism sometimes of the Saints. We have Drew Brees, who's like next to God. I don't know. I mean, the guy is unbelievable. What can you possibly expect more from this guy? He goes out there, he does anything and everything more than we expect, and the guy's just beyond that as a superhuman being. The things he does for the community, family man, whoever punched him out broke the mold. The guy's just phenomenal. But you can't possibly expect him to go out week in and week out and score 35 or 40 points or win in 2 minutes to go at the end of the game when they're down by 2 touchdowns. It just doesn't happen no matter how good you are. Which brings me to the defensive side. Defensively, I look at the Saints, and of course we all want to get back to the Super Bowl. Once you get a bite, once you get a taste of it, nothing's satisfactory unless you get back. I mean, we won 2. We're so greedy, we got 1, we won 2. Nothing wrong with that. The Saints, though, this year have struggled a little bit. I think they spent the whole offseason trying to fill in some gaps that they had, trying to stop the run, which they had trouble doing last year. They tried to improve special teams. I heard Charlie talk about the punter at LSU and how great he is, and they've only had 6 yards returned in all of his 30 punts or so. Well, the reason for that is they have great depth and talent at every position. All those guys that are second teamers and third teamers are playing on those special teams. And they're great athletes and they're playmakers. And that's one of the things that the Saints have lacked. It's a little bit tougher when you get in the pros and you only have 49, 50 guys out there, whereas in the college ranks you have 118 or whatever the number, 125. But so that's where the Saints have spent a lot of time trying to do a better job on coverage teams. But those are the backup guys, and many times they're the starters. And if you're playing in tough games, I'll tell you, coming on, playing a 10-yard drive, or stopping a 10-yard drive on defense, a 10-play drive or a 15-play drive, and then having to go cover or return a punt or cover a kickoff, that's pretty tough for those defensive guys. So that's something that they've had some challenges with. They haven't been able to improve this year. They've got to get a little bit better on that. And then, of course, the running game is their biggest problem this year. They just have not been able to stop the run. And you can score a lot of points, but if you look at all the Super Bowl teams that have won in the past, it's all about having great defenses. And so in order for our boys to get back, which I'm going to remind you again, I don't care if they get back because I'm fully satisfied, just so you remember. I'm happy with where they are. If they don't win another Super Bowl, I'm okay with that. But in order for those guys to get back there, they're going to have to shore up the defense a little bit, take some pressure off of Breeze and the offense, who's great. I mean, Lance Moore is a guy after my own heart. Graham, I mean, they have some Pierre Thomas, the running backs they have. I mean, these guys are just as good as they get. So they can do their job. We just have to kind of keep our fingers crossed that the defense can kick it up a notch. I mean, if any of you saw the game last night, the Giants are on a roll. They got to win a few games, and boom, you got Philadelphia Eagles who lost 5 in a row come in and knock the legs out from under. That's the NFL. It can happen any week, week in and week out. It doesn't matter who you play. We lose one game to St. Louis. They only won 2 all year, one of them against the Saints. I mean, I don't know how you explain all that other than any given week. You can go out and win, you can lose. It just depends. Saints are close. I'm going to keep my fingers crossed for those of you that want to win another Super Bowl. I'll keep my fingers crossed, but I think they've got to do a couple other things to have a shot at winning the championship. They're going to get there, and you know, if you got to go through Green Bay to win the Super Bowl, it's going to be awfully difficult. But let's keep our fingers crossed, and hopefully they can do what we set out to do at the beginning of the year for them. I think, you know, I was listening throughout the year when Sean Payton blew his knee out. It's the only time he's ever been hurt in his career, interestingly enough. And some of the comments about whether it would make a difference if he was on the sidelines or not. And, you know, Frank, you know, it's so critical for those guys to be on the sidelines. I think they stepped back a little bit in those couple of games when he wasn't there. I mean, I don't care what anybody says. His enthusiasm, his attitude, you know, when you're running off the field and you see the coach's eye to eye right in your face, and a guy like Peyton, who will get in your face, that definitely has an effect on the way those guys played. So thank goodness he's back there, even though he's kipping around. I think that'll be helpful for him moving forward. You know, they've got Atlanta, they've got coming up. They've got the Giants, who maybe they're catching them at a good time. Maybe the Giants are coming here limbering a little bit, limping a little bit. So we'll keep our fingers crossed there. I'll be remiss since I'm going to open up the questions for the Saints, but I would be remiss in not mentioning the Penn State situation. And before I say anything further, obviously the whole issue here is just mind-boggling about the kids and the victims that have gone through this thing. So I want to mention that our prayers and thoughts are out for those people, because I can't get my arms around all that. I'm at this point very upset and very angry. To get an understanding of this whole issue is just mind-boggling. I have to say this before we open up questions. You know, there are 23 pages of testimony that have been out in this issue that the grand jury has released, which is despicable, and I don't know if any of you read it. I don't suggest that you do. They've been investigating this thing for 3 years, so you can anticipate that there'll be a whole lot more that'll hit the surface with this. It'll come out over the next weeks and months. So we just hope that we can handle this properly moving forward, and that, again, the victims are taken care of in our prayers. The one other thing I want to say is about the NCAA kind of now sticking their nose in the Penn State program. I'm not so sure this is a football issue, but I got to say something about the death penalty, because I've been wanting to say it for years and years, even prior to this thing. I think it's the dumbest move that anybody could ever consider, is providing the death penalty to any university for circumstances that usually a coach or a player that's no longer there, or that gets fired and moves on, and the punishment falls on the program and the university and the kids that had nothing to do with it. So if anybody's out there from the NCAA, I'd like to talk to you after this meeting, because we've got a few things I'd like to say. But with that, I'll open it up to any questions and be happy to answer anything about the Saints or the Penn State situation. But everyone's afraid to ask about the Penn State situation, but I'll let people about the Saints. Bill, how are you?
On the Penn State situation, just apart from that, is it in danger of creating a culture where young people are going to be reluctant to go into coaching because you might be accused of something that you didn't even think about doing? Does that happen?
Well, I mean, we don't know what happened. We think and we hear, the media gets a hold of this kind of thing, and it's, believe me, there's no sugarcoat this. This is despicable, this incident. It's a national problem. It's not a Penn State problem. It's a national problem. It's child abuse, without question. It's a very, very serious issue. And there are a lot of state colleges, unfortunately, around our country right now that are going through some of this. But I think, well, you know what, I heard a lot of people say, don't play the game on Saturday. You can't play the Nebraska game. You know, Joe can't be on the sidelines. I tend to agree that he couldn't be on the sidelines. I'm not sure I agree with how it all happened, how it was handled with Joe, but I mean, you don't erase 60 years of what he built and the fact that he did so many things for great kids along the way. But I think if you would have eliminated that opportunity on Saturday, and I don't know if any of you saw the game. I was on the middle of the field with my son because we were there to support the kids because they did nothing. But if you were there, if you saw that game, it gave those kids an opportunity to tell the world they care. It's not about football. They care about those victims. They care about that issue. They care about all the people that came before them and all the people that come after. And I think those opportunities have to be carried on. They raised the students' body at Penn State at the game raised some $20,000 or $25,000 for child abuse awareness. You would have eliminated that opportunity for them to do that. So I think, as horrendous, and believe me, this is horrendous, this issue, as horrendous as it is, there'll be some good, some very, very good that will come out of it because of the quality of the people that are involved, that have been thrown under the bus, that have been sucked into this thing initially. And I think you'll be able to overcome those things. And maybe this new generation will create some great opportunities, similar to what we're doing in New Orleans. We've got a great young population of professionals coming to New Orleans. After Katrina, we're finally getting our feet on the ground. People are coming here for the next generation to carry New Orleans into the next decades. I think you're going to see that at Penn State. There's a new generation. Joe's gone. There'll be a new generation on the football field. There'll be a new generation in the administration as well.
Richard, really not referring to Penn State.
Oh.
What I'm talking about is people that are considering going into coaching as a career. In today's world, compared to when that happened at Penn State, but now and going forward, any comment you make to a person of the other gender, any gesture you make, a touch, anything like that, is subject to questions and maybe even things that you're accused of that you didn't even do, but somebody had it in for you. Is it going to, Frank, is it going to scare people out of going into coaching?
Yeah, Frank alluded to that. I mean, the terminology, you got to say the right things. Look, I'm Italian. I hug everybody. I'd never make it in coaching. I'd be grabbing, hugging, slapping, I mean, a pat on the butt. I mean, that's what we grew up in. And so it's, you know, this is a cultural thing. It's not a coaching thing. This is our society now that you have to be politically correct about everything you do. We're out of control with all of that. So I don't know. I don't think it would discourage anyone from doing it, but certainly there will be greater training for younger coaches coming in. Now we have to talk about PR, we have to talk about what we say in the media, how we handle our kids, being more sensitive to what our kids are doing in our relationships with them. But I think it's like anything, we'll grow into that, unfortunately to some degree, but fortunately in many ways. Maybe we'll be more sensitive to those issues out there, those humanistic issues. I'm sorry I answered all that other thing. I wasted all your time, Bill. I didn't get your question right.
That was a great answer.
It's all right. Marie?
Rich, is this Michael's last year?
Michael got hurt again. He's graduating academically in December. And so he's finishing out the year on injury reserve. And he has one year left of eligibility next year. So.
Well, he was in the 5th year now. No.
He graduated, yeah.
This is the 4th year.
So he's got another year of eligibility to play next year, and then you know, there's a reason for everything. And of course, anytime your kid's out there playing and doing the things, you want the best for them all the time. When they get hurt, you get hurt. It hurts you more than it does them. But I've told Michael there's a reason that he's going to come back next year. There's a reason that opportunity is available to him. And with not anticipating any of this stuff happening, there's a reason for him to be there, maybe as a leader, maybe to help bring them into the next generation, end this era, the paternal era, begin a new one with a whole more new enlightenment on other issues.
So that's good. He's planning.
So he'll be back next year, number 42.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
He'll be good.
All
It's
right,
not up to
Saints.
Saints, yes, good.
I know you're satisfied with one Super Bowl.
I'm lying.
I'm satisfied that we got it. God knows. And I've been around.
And you've earned it more than anybody, I can tell you.
Not kidding. But anyway, but I'd like to go to Indianapolis. I really would. So, you know, kind of keep on pulling here.
No, believe me, there was nothing. Nancy and I had tickets to go to Miami for the Super Bowl. We gave them away. We wanted to be on Bourbon Street, on a bar on Bourbon Street, which is where we were with 2 other friends sitting at the bar on Bourbon Street, and when that last whistle blew, we were like ants on Bourbon Street. I don't know if any of you were down there at the time. I wouldn't have given that opportunity up for anything. That was so rewarding for me to be there and to watch everybody high-fiving, everybody enjoying it. I don't want to relive all this again because you had it, but it was the most invigorating and most exciting time for me. I'm not playing anymore, but to see that and be able to enjoy that victory with the people of New Orleans and all that everyone had been through, nothing like it ever, and won't ever be repeated. We win another one, it won't ever be like that, but we'll still take it. Yes, sir.
How well did you know Coach Sandusky, and he was shocked, as it seems like popular opinion is, of people that knew him, that was involved in this?
Yeah, you know, Jerry was a linebacker coach when I was there. I was a wide receiver running back, so he was on the other side. But I knew him. I mean, we all knew him. He's the guy next door. He's the coach in the locker room cracking jokes. He's the, you know, it'd be like telling me, you know, Marie was a rapist. I mean, that's the kind of, what, are you crazy? That's why it's been such a shock. And everyone says the town, it's a small town, everybody knows. Yeah, there's rumblings, you know, what do you do with that? You can't accuse anybody, you know, people just, it's mind-boggling to see this guy. And he had the perfect shield. He was a sick man. It's kind of like the church. You have the perfect shield. You have the collar with the priest. It's a horrible thing to say, but it was a perfect environment for him to do his thing. So, and nobody knew. I talked to coaches that had their lockers next to each other, got dressed for 15, 20 years, had no clue. I mean, just a sick individual. So it's sad. I mean, it's just a tough deal. I mean, I can't believe the guys walking around the streets. I mean, what's wrong with us? We got a whole other set of issues here that have to be dealt with. But
Rich, you said your son's there now, and you mentioned a little while ago about the players having nothing to do with this at all. Has your son given you any indication if the players been mistreated, or how the players been received in that community? What kind of stuff have they had to face?
Actually, again, if you saw the game and you saw everyone came around the players, because I think everyone fully understands that they had nothing to do with it. And even on the outside. I mean, that's why I get crazy when the NCAA is going into investigate. It's not really a football issue. The guy was hired by the university. He was an emeritus status from the university because he was a phys ed teacher. So, but I think everyone has rallied around the players. The players themselves, look, it's emotional. And one or two things happened. You know, LSU went through it, obviously not the severity of adversity that we're dealing with at Penn State. LSU went through it earlier in the season. One or two things that happen. Either it blows the team up and everyone starts pointing fingers, or it brings them together. If you get the right character people like LSU, and you got the right people leading them, it bonds them together. So those guys are really tight. Great group of seniors, great group of leaders on that team. They're very, very tight. They're stuck together. They will stick together and they'll make it through this. Thank you for that question. One more question.
I was in Mobile on business last week, and the Mobile newspaper had a story that strong rumors of Saban being interested in the Penn State job. Have you heard anything through your network of contact?
That's not a fair question to ask me. They probably know more than I'm supposed to know. I don't. I've heard those rumors. I heard it actually from a very reliable source in town here. And then, you know, he's from Virginia, I guess. He coached at Michigan State, and we all know Coach Saban. His ego is bigger than this room. Would he go to Penn State for money? No, because Penn State's not going to pay him a lot of money. Would he go to have the opportunity to win another championship at 2 different conferences and 3 different championships where no one else has done? You bet. So I've heard those same rumors. And now with Urban Meyers, even though he's denied it, obviously going to Ohio State. I mean, that's the first sign that he signed the paperwork when he denies everything emphatically. So he's already at Ohio State. He's in. His daughter goes to Penn State, just signed up to go to Penn State. So he's going to Ohio State. And you would have seen, might have been a choice. I'm not sure. I mean, this is a very difficult thing. I have mixed feelings. I'm not sure if the Board of Trustees at Penn State hires the name guy, or whether the name guy wants to go there under the circumstances with so many open-ended issues, or they, I mean, I know this would be tough, or they keep someone like Tom Bradley, who certainly earns or deserves a shot to take it to the next level. He's handled himself marvelously under the circumstances now. Or do that kind of thing, or get a young offensive coordinator that's the up-and-coming star. I'm not sure what direction you take, but to answer your question simply, Saban's name is probably in the hunt for those reasons. So again, I want to thank all of you for being here. I appreciate you inviting me and get a chance to talk a little bit about it. If you have any other questions, I'd be happy to answer. Thank you very much. Have a great Thanksgiving.